it amazes me that adults have gotten so so when I say this, it's like selfish in in life, especially when it comes to youth sports, that adults will beat up a kid's ego just to boost their own ego.
Yeah.
That you're winning a trophy is more means more to you than it does if you affected this kid's life, or you boosted a kid's confidence, or you helped a kid. Welcome to the Banter. I'm Dave, the Topsy. Hobbsy, man, it has been a interesting week. Needless to say, a lot to talk about. I mean, a lot to talk about almost every week. It seems like uh,
Yeah.
Olympics is winding down sports wise. Uh, Pro football is starting up with
Indeed.
you know I think everybody as of today would have played. Uh,
Yeah. We're
you
getting
know,
there.
so we have that. Baseball is getting interesting by the day, by the
It
week.
is.
Um,
It is.
some interesting topics, man. I kind of want to get into first before we start off is mental health.
Yeah, man.
It's something we don't talk much about, and I think more so as far as mental health with our kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think nowadays that our kids out there that are struggling more and more with mental health, struggling more and more with depression, struggling more and more with the pressures of life that maybe things that we overlooked or we looked past when we were kids,
Yeah.
or maybe we were just so blocked off from it or shut it or locked it inside that it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
I think what happens is, you know, with sports and school and everything else, that we as adults forget the pressures, and especially when you have parents who demand, not say perfection, but demand you do well and put your effort into everything, that we forget what it's like and the stress it causes our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
You know, you have social media out there that doesn't help. You have, I, and the reason why I say social media, it's crazy because I heard on the radio that there was some law office or that is has this lawsuit against social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, that if your kid has been bullied or if your kid has been body shamed or anything like that, there's an actual lawsuit out there that I guess it's like a class action suit, that if your kids are felt that way or have been put down through it, then caused depression or anything like that, man, that it's you know I find that case to be a little ridiculous, but it's
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
I think our kids, you have that and the pressure of friends and boys to girls and girls to boys and boys to boys and girls to girls. I mean, it goes on and on, man. I think it's something we don't take as seriously as we should.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fathom that I think if I was, a preteen or a teenager, that I would need to seek counseling just to help me get through emotional times.
Yeah.
Because in my time in the area, what you were taught to suppress your feelings or hold it in,
Uh-huh.
and then you wonder why, when you become grown adults, why you're so the not edgy, but it's like you're so kind of shut down yourself sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the mental health with kids and young athletes and all that nowadays?
Well, I mean, honestly, my first thought is I always look at it, as to me, the exposure in general. So you just kind of covered it all. Everything that kids are exposed to now, like we weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest. That I think that is the. If I had to pick a number one reasoning behind it, I think that's it. So
Yeah.
uh, the stuff that kids know now, when we look back to us, we would have been so naive to. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't even funny. I remember, and I'm sure you do too. I remember. It's just a terrible example, but it is what it is. I remember like seeing my first Playboy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like how excited we were, but yet we still didn't know what we were really looking at.
Yeah.
And then nowadays, you're one click a button from seeing stuff that I would never have even
Yeah.
processed
Yeah.
back then. And that's just, and that's a one click away from everything is where I'm going with that. Like it's it, kids know. I mean, in the world we live in today, knowledge is so much more out there and accessible.
Uh-huh.
Which again, I know you and me have talked about this before. It's a very good thing and a very bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the dark side of it is what you're talking about now. So, you know, for every kind of knowledgeable thing that there is on the internet and social media and the exposure to things that kids get now is where, look at the two sides of it. You see kids that become child prodigies. You see kids
Yeah.
that can do stuff that we couldn't have done at 18 or we're just getting to know how to do and they're doing it at 11.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is what, kind of what you're talking about now. There's a lot of the bullying stage. It was one thing when we were growing up to be bullied within your own town or, you know, someplace. Now, if you put yourself out there and you're not careful as a kid, on when you're on one of social media sites or exposure, like for example, exposure again, if you're being an individual and you're taught that's okay to be who you are, which is fine, and
Yeah.
you should be. You're also coming, and I think that's part parents too. Comes with that is a whole different level of bullying. Instead of, you might be reaching out to your class of 100 or your class of 500
Mm-hmm.
growing up. Now all of a sudden you're in the thousands and the possibly millions, and everyone, like we've talked about before, everyone likes to hide behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
It's the most easy way to never put a face to saying the most vile, degrading, disrespectful, you know, hurt causing nonsense ever. Like,
Oh yeah.
you can say whatever you want and you can be whoever you want and you can hide behind it. And it's, I think, so much of, when it comes to, at least on some kids, like a lot of kids with mental health, it is that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
on the sports side of it, my number one blame is parents.
Yeah.
Uh, everybody, I get everyone wants their kid to be an NFL superstar and a Major League Baseball superstar, a soccer World Cup player, a hockey player, you name it, race car driver, whatever it is. But it seems like these days parents have upped the ante on how hard they are on their
Yeah.
kids about it and expectations. Now, at the same side, again, there's two sides to that. We talk about it on here constantly. There are there's no it doesn't seem like there's an in between very much anymore as far as sports or just life. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have, and I think that's just different generations of parenting and people. Like nowadays, it's like there's so much instant gratification and instant success,
Yeah.
and people they're exposed to seeing it so much that when we saw it, it truly was rare. Like it
Yeah.
was like, holy cow, they did this, and but it got to us late because we didn't have all the access to it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a million kids on TikTok making this much money, and they're showing you how to do it. Or there's all these all these success stories and stuff, and then I think that feeding into people, into parents, then thinks, hey, maybe my kid could do that.
Yeah.
It pushes the hope, which we're all hopeful for our kids and stuff, but it also pushes on each side of that. Like I said, you have your radical side where it's like you need to be batting fucking 950, no excuses, never put the bat down, never, you're going to be great, and maybe they're not, or maybe the pressure's too much because it is, and then you have parents that just don't give a shit at all, and you don't see a lot of that happy medium anymore, which is where I think everyone needs to be, where you push your children in what they love, and and
Hmm.
and you make you push them to be successful as a whole, not in one thing.
Yeah.
And because not every kid's going to be great at this, not every kid's going to be great at that. you know what you should be doing is finding what they are great at, and no matter what it is, let your child decide that, because at the end of the day, that's where their happiness is,
Uh-huh.
which is a ton of mental health. And you and me both know, you know, I don't know, who tunes into this and who doesn't, but as far as mental health goes, you and me, I always feel like on this topic, it's something you and me can talk about and have a fucking clue what we're talking about because we've both been through it.
Hmm.
I've been off the reservation a couple times, pretty good. You've been off it. We know what it's like. I've took the pills. I've talked to the people. I know what when I was young the first time. So, I was not too young. I was a teenage kid. But things escalate. And these days, I think with kids, man, it's just a different. They're different, man. Like, because it's almost like you have your cake and eat it too with everybody. So
Yeah.
it's you want express your feelings, be an individual, be who you want to be, identify as this, love that, which is great and is as it should
Yeah.
be. But the opposite side of that is there's when we were growing up, like I said, there wasn't all these people that were exposed to you. And now when you expose yourself like that, the kickback to all of that is the amount of people and shit that you're exposed back to that you
Yeah.
weren't. And with that comes cyberbullying and you know haters, and the extreme haters go to now, because we live in a world now where it's not just about talking shit. Now it's who can go to the next level of shit.
Hmm.
Like, how bad can we make this? The thing is, you think kids are fucking ruthless, man.
Yeah.
They'll go out of their way, like it's almost their goal to see how far they can push somebody to fucking hate themselves. And as a kid, man, it's a confusing world, because
It is.
on one end you're getting told, be you, express yourself, you know, be out there, do your thing, follow your dreams, do what you love. And then on the other end, you got such an exposure to so many people now, they're gonna be like, fuck that kid. You know, let's tell this kid he's this. You're a fat ass. You're a little skinny douchebag. You'll never do that. You ain't got no muscles. You're an idiot. There's no way you'll ever do
Everybody.
that. And then all of that shit comes. And then in the home life too. That kids are exposed these days. I remember back in the day when a kid cussed. I knew some dads that would straight whip your ass.
Yeah.
Like if you dropped a fuck or a balls or
Oh yeah.
anything even. Or you got the side eye for mom with a quick smack in the mouth.
Yep.
That the way people talk is a lot more okay now. You
It's
know what I
more
mean?
accepted.
It's
Yeah.
accepted. Yeah, you have some of the things that are acceptable now on a lack of respect level is also, to me, adds to it. There are so many things that are like kids can get away with or not say, or say that like affects mentally what they do, or parents how they are with stuff, like
Hmm.
what they allow their kids to hear, like
Yeah.
from other kids, before it's like, or they just shoulder shrug it like, oh, it's just little Tommy talking shit. You know, you don't know how that is on your kid, man. If you're not diving into it, you don't a lot. There's so many of these stories you hear and stuff where the parents are like, well, we tried to do something, and then to finish this off, there's the next part of that. There's the parents that we tried to do something, and you're like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Did you make an effort?
Yeah.
And then there's the parents that literally do make an effort, and then you find people that just turn the shoulder to it because these days it's just okay, or it's how it works. Like, you know, there's the lady going around on Facebook. Her daughter got, committed suicide for being
Yeah.
bullied, and she went everywhere. And then she got a court order that she couldn't talk about it. Yeah, fuck that. Why would we not talk about it?
It
You know, and kids are just, you and me know this. And we talk about time. The kids are more sensitive today, and there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. They the common kid, the kids that we see all the time. Most of us go out of our way to make sure they want for nothing, so they have no idea what it's like to struggle and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's tough because you're on your own a lot more these days. I feel like to build your mental toughness and to your trigger points and stuff. I feel like sometimes for as much stuff's out there that you could that to help you, people just turn an eye to it a lot more these days, and kids are just they don't know how to handle it these days because I guess I feel like when we were younger, like you said, we suppressed it and stuff,
Hmm.
and you build those walls and you build I guess you grow from it,
Yeah.
not always in good ways, but you know I everything's easier these days, so I think a lot of times it sounds bad when young kids take their lives and stuff, they think that's the easy way, and it sucks because they don't know any better.
No, I think.
They're not, and it's hard to explain what I'm trying to say because like there's so many ways to try to go into it without getting like too, but I just think that a lot of exposure, a lot of responsibilities are ignored as parents and as people that are in their lives, and also the knowledge of not knowing the triggers, like to not know what's going on. If you're not involved in your kid's life enough to understand what's going on, and that's why I feel like it's always important to be like, how so and so, what's going on with this, to be involved in your kid's life enough to know not that you're in there every day, not that you're like living their life for them, but you need to be involved enough to know everything that's going on, and if they need to talk about something, you need to be that open door where they can talk about whatever they want and feel comfortable talking about it. Because if you're not, that's when the shit builds up, and that's when it becomes really hard.
In a perfect world,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, we as parents, we as step parents would always, make it easier for the kids. In a perfect world, people would work together for the betterment of kids. I have, as I've grown and as I've seen it, as I've gone through it, and even looking at from, like, say, the youth sport side of things and all this stuff we talk about mental health, more and more and more, I'm starting to see it's not the kids, it's the adults.
Exactly. They don't make it about
The,
kids; they make it about themselves.
the selfishness of adults
Mm-hmm.
are what cause a lot of things to these kids. Don't get me wrong, you have kids bullying kids, but to me, bullying is taught. Bullying is learned. You know, it's studies have shown that, a lot of times bullies happen because of their own low self-esteem,
Yep.
you know, so they feel they need to pick on others to build themselves up.
Yeah.
And
It's a front, man.
a lot of it is because of maybe what they're dealing in their home life,
Yep.
you know, and that's the way they kind of let it out. Um, you have kids who shut down, unfortunately, and they shut down to the point where it's like, why am I still alive?
Yeah.
And then what happens is parents, myself, yourself, parents, step parents don't look at themselves and see what they're doing to the kids. Are we perfect? Not by any means. Are we, do we make mistakes as parents, step parents? Absolutely. Um, you want the best for your kids, your stepchildren, everything else. You know, one thing I try to do is I try not to pressure my kids,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like when they say, I want to succeed and be successful in this. Don't get upset when I push you to
Yeah.
because that's what you tell me you want. The same stakes. It's like when you think of some of the top athletes. Matter of fact, Simone Biles has come out about it. How many pro athletes now are about mental health and the pressures they had to succumb? And I use Simone is probably the best example because she is in an individualized sport at the highest level of
Yep. You
competing
don't get
there
any
is.
higher. Yep.
And it's such an individualized sport where that pressure mounts even more.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that pro baseball players, pro football players, pro basketball players don't feel that. But when there's a difference when not all eyes are on you, but when it's just one person and all eyes are on you and the whole world is on you and the pressures that come to you. And, I was guilty of it when she came out and I thought, hey, she's quitting on her team. I'm just as guilty as everybody else. But I think we always forget there's a backstory.
Yep.
And then when
Yeah.
you hear the backstory, then you're like, shit, now I feel like a dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, you
Mental
think
health
too. You
in
think
our
too. That's with everything when you think of the backstory too. So that goes with bullying and how people are. Like, you might grow up with somebody and think like truly know them,
yeah.
and how many times have you been like, dude, I had no idea, or I had no clue, and you find out stuff that it wasn't even yours to find out, but you
Yeah.
find out stuff, and all of a sudden, like normal. I don't. I'm sure you're the same way I am with it. Like in your mind, then all of a sudden you're like, it makes you wonder. Holy shit! How was I bad to this person? Was it? Did I ever, uh, you know, make it worse? And you get that like it's. I don't know if it's a guilt, but it's like you
Hmm.
almost like backtrack everything you've
Yeah.
ever thought, and like it's almost like a remix of that person you've known for so long, and you're like, fuck, if I,
What?
had I known, man.
Sometimes
And
I think even parents or adults need to look at themselves and saying, am I the cause of that?
oh yeah, yeah,
I think parents don't take accountability for their own actions sometimes and
yep,
wondering why their kids are the way they are or act the way they are towards them. You can't be, you know, you can't act one way and then expect your kid to act another way. And you thinking, why are you acting that way? Or why don't you accept this or accept that? And the fact that you don't look at yourself and saying, shit, it was it was my own doing that caused this. It's
I
like they say, kids just want to be kids.
yeah,
When you talk about youth sports, and one of the always things is like, kids don't ruin youth sports, adults ruin youth
fuck
sports.
yeah, they do. Absolutely,
Kids don't ruin themselves, adults ruin the kids.
yeah, they help. They're a significant part of it for sure. I can.
Uh,
I'm
I
not
think
gonna. I,
a
I'm not
kid,
gonna say a name, but when you say that, I instantly think of one person. I can't help myself in situations like we're in. I know we're quite a bit of if we go through rough patches. I got a pretty good idea where some of mine like where it stems from,
yeah.
and I know exactly like that there's some of that there for sure, and it causes a lot of it. And
In a in a
without directly saying, but you
in
know,
a extreme perfect world, you know, parents, that are no longer, are divorced, and step parents. In a perfect world, there'd be perfect co-parenting. You would
Exactly.
truly look at the best thing for the child.
Hmm.
But, and there's a big but with the capital B, a U, and a T. But it doesn't always happen that way,
No,
because
it does not.
some parents are selfishly thinking about themselves and not their own kids' well being. Some parents don't, look at maybe what their actions have caused. It's one thing to say, "Hey, you know, I'm 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 dad and I do this, or I'm mom and I do this," and you are not truly doing that stuff.
Exactly.
It takes more than just, you know, an every other weekend job,
Oh
or
yeah.
a every weekend job, or a like. You have to be willing to be there day in and day out, and get to know the kids who you thought you knew,
Yeah.
to realize the everyday thing and the everyday changes and the everyday emotions are different if you only see it once a week, or
Yeah.
once every other weekend, or something like that.
And
And that plays a part into everything. So when you add all that on top of the pressures to perform in sports, or the pressures to perform in school, and it's like, at times I feel we as adults failed our own children. We have lost the structure, and we've had that on here. We have lost the structure of kids respecting teachers.
no.
We have lost the structure of kids respecting elders. Social media makes everything out to be, let's a prank or a joke. It's easy to hide behind a keyboard and do this. We live in this society where it's, hey, if you do this to me, I'll sue you.
Yep.
I'll admit, there's probably times I've deserved an ass whipping more than anybody. I think kids nowadays are exposed a lot more to what we were, and
Oh yeah.
that plays into probably a lot of it. Um,
They're
like you
held,
said,
and
like you said
like you and
earlier,
me have talked.
we
Go ahead.
we remember seeing, finding those first Playboys, and like, oh, a
Yeah.
whole new world opened up.
Yeah.
And right now, you could just accidentally type in a word and
Yeah.
hit
Yeah.
Google search and see what comes up. Like,
Right.
you can type in "mama's boy," and
Yeah. That you're not going to see what you think you're going to see. Yeah. All of a
no,
sudden, your first 50 search up,
or
without
you're
a
like,
parental filter, and you're
hey,
like, whoa.
I need to do a research paper on daddy's issues,
Yeah.
and don't tell him what comes up.
Yep. And all of a sudden, here comes Peter North in his fucking best shades and his gray hair, and you're like, whoops.
But it's like the mental health of kids, and kids, how we forget how easily they can shut down on us,
Mhm.
and how they that we need to look at ourselves as adults, as educators, as coaches, as parents, step parents, all that stuff. Need to look at ourselves and say, what are we doing,
Yeah.
or what can we change to help them? Because the last thing I ever want to think about is like someone I know's kid who was very, very depressed, and you read about it, you hear about it, and that they took their life because of depression.
Yeah. And you're like, that was
These
it's
And the sad part is these kids know no better.
exactly.
We
You
as
know.
adults know the difference between, we should know the difference between right and wrong. We
Yeah.
should know that taking ourselves or taking our own lives is not the best thing out there. these kids know no better. They have no answer, and they think that's the only answer, and that's what needs to change.
I agree.
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad when I hear that, you know, kids take their own lives because of being bullied. It's sad to hear that it's like, our kids are thinking of taking their lives because of bullying, or of what their home life is like, or what they got to deal with.
Yeah.
And because it's like, yeah, I have, I always say I'm guilty, because it's like, I pressure saying, I expect good grades. Are they always going to happen? No. I just want you to exceed
Mhm.
in school, because in reality, school and learning something can get you a long way in life. Just, and not saying that, like, I'm an advocate for education.
Yeah.
And if anything, I always say is I want kids to at least get a high school education.
Yeah. Exactly.
Times have kind of flip flop. Used to be you needed to have a college education to make it in the world.
Right.
Now, as long as you just have an education, some high school
Yep.
education is kind of flip flop back to where we used to be. It's like high school education was, you were good. We have so many trade schools out there. We have so many different ways that kids can make a living in life, that it's like you don't need to go to a 4-year institution and go to college for 6 years to make it big in this life. I mean,
Yeah.
how many of these guys that you've seen that on YouTube and every social media platform that's how they're making their money?
Yeah. Well, and and in trade schools, you think of it. Some of the most successful people I know
Uh huh.
don't have a college degree whatsoever at all. Now they got their high school, they got a diploma, and they went on and learned a trade and learned it well,
Hmm.
and have got years under. They put the grind in. They did their apprenticeship. They got their grind in, and
Hmm.
man, they kill it. Like they want for nothing. They have a comfortable family life. They have everything they want, and when there's emergencies, they have everything they need to cover it.
Yeah.
And and to me, that's as successful as I could see a person. And they didn't, and no college degree out of half of them. And I know, say on the other side, I know guys and gals that have went, got the college degree, pursued it, are doing exactly what they set out to do. They
Hmm.
stayed the course, because I know for a fact, for a lot of them, they had structure. They
Hmm.
had they had they had every opportunity for, their parents made sure they had opportunity and guided them that way.
Hmm.
And it's
I
these days,
I
exactly,
think
again, it
mental
comes
health.
it comes it comes to exposure. So these days, like you said, a high school degree will get you, you can get on and go and do many, many things, and live comfortably in this life.
It is. I always go is like, if you're going to go to college and you're going to get a degree, I say if you're going to go for law and be a lawyer, you need that degree.
Yeah, doctor.
You know, if you want to be a teacher, then you need a teaching degree by far.
Yeah.
Like certain degrees, I understand.
Hmm.
You know, no offense to knock those, but like your liberal arts degrees, like what are you going to do in life with a philosophy degree?
Yeah, unless you're
I
going to
mean,
be,
don't
unless you're
get me
going to
wrong,
teach
like,
philosophy.
unless you're going to teach philosophy, which, like I
Yep.
said, is understandable, but it's like, to me, in today's day and age, it's like you know, the doors are so wide open.
Hmm.
There's so much more accessibility to a lot of things. One of the perfect things I saw is all like, you know, nowadays it used to be, you always used to be a big thing is saying, hey, you need to have experience. I find it hard that a job can't take a week to train you into what needs to be done. A lot of people's jobs, that's how a lot of people's jobs started. They were brought in and taught.
Yeah.
How are you going to teach a kid to do something when he's fresh out of college and he's worked nothing in the service industry because he was trying to make ends meet?
Yep.
And you're trying to say, oh, you can't do this because you need to have experience. When I'm like, well, let them in if they're qualified and then teach them.
Yep. Yeah. You know,
But
give them experience. How are they ever going to get it if you
but
you
going
got to
back
help
to it,
them get experience.
but like I think the mental health in our children need to be addressed more and more nowadays. More and more, you know, just man, it's like so. Try to put in the words. It's like it needs to be. It's just as problematic
Mhm.
in our society today as fentanyl.
Yeah.
It's mental health within our kids is becoming almost a epidemic within itself.
Mhm.
People want to brush off them because they're kids.
Yeah. Oh,
You
they're just
know,
kids. No, not
they're
always the
just
case.
kids. I look at it and say it's like we grew up. Us as young boys were taught to you don't cry because of this. You don't. You toughen up. You're not. You don't be a sissy boy. You were given that, and you were like told to suppress your emotions pretty much. Somewhere, somehow along the timeline, and I always said it to sales, is it's like when we hit, and maybe it was like we seemed to hit that period of time where there was a lot of single mothers out there, and don't it's hard to say, and it's just like when it was like, for me, it was like I don't know when that was, but that generation of just seemed like there was constantly just single mother after single mother, where they got very overprotective of their kids. You know, the grandparents got to be real overprotective because they felt they were trying to protect everybody. And then it was all like, so what happens is you start to, and I'm not saying this was wrong, but it's just like you started seeing the how it played on the emotions of the kids. The emotions of kids started to change and change and change.
Yeah.
Kids are facing life choices more quickly now than we did.
Yeah.
You know, anything we could say, I said we always. It's like it's crazy because we can tie into sports. We grew up. You just showed up and played, signed up, showed up, balled out. Hey, if you were good, you stood out. If you
Yep.
wasn't, you stood out.
Yep.
Eventually, it all weeded itself out.
Yep. Exactly.
Then I know we joke and I use the word and we said it is like that. That pussification of society started to happen, where everybody gets that trophy. Kids are starting to get spoiled and handed stuff and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, like I'm that type who's like, yeah, my daughter gets probably anything she wants. She asks me for it, anything else.
Mhm.
Prime example, $100 fucking pair of Bruce bolts. Could have found a pair of $40 batting gloves, the exact same thing.
Dude, I get it. $3,500 motorcycle.
I,
Could have
you know,
could have got
I
one and
get it.
fixed it himself.
I get it, and at the same time, I think a lot of parents do it because it was like, I don't want you to go without what I couldn't get when I was younger.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like it became that, and maybe that's what we always say is that everybody gets trophy generation is now starting to come to bloom, and now you're starting to see it more and more, and now you're starting to see it in our kids. But at the same time, it's like you don't know how much damage sometimes that's done because it's unfair when little Timmy over here is not used to getting what he wants, and now he's has a mental breakdown, and now you're worried about what he's going to do.
Yeah.
But it's all like if you look back at what it looks like, who helped cause that scenario?
Yep.
He was being sheltered, he was being protected, he was given whatever he wanted, he was doing this, and I said we're all, and hey, we're all as adults guilty of it with our
Yeah.
kids. Um, but I think it's like we're forgetting what kind of damage it could do in the long run sometimes.
Yeah.
and the mental aspect of it. And it's like you see kids, you worry about your own kids because of the stuff they're going through. It's like I have to say is my boy at 12 it's like he has to deal with stuff that most 12-year-olds don't have to deal with. And to see him and how he deals with it, it's almost like, man, I don't even think at 12 years old I could deal with that shit.
Right.
And but then you worry about the mental side of it.
Yeah.
It's like, is it going to be one of those things where he's going to have to be in counseling his whole life?
Yeah.
Then you have to look at yourself and as parents and start saying, okay, where did this go wrong? Why did it start to happen? What is it? How do you fix it? Is it too late? You don't want it to be too late to fix. So
Yeah.
you try to get it fixed right away. And it's like, you try to do what's best for them. I'm sure you're the same way. You try to do what's best for them. You look after them. You try to protect them and keep them away from everything. But at the same time, when they walk through these doors, man, they go to school and they deal with all the other shit on top of all the home shit they deal with. Man, I don't know how like I said, sad part is like you apply these kids that can do it, and sometimes you look at yourself and say, man, I don't know if I could ever handle it
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
There's, and there's, like I said, there's kids that, and these days when they can handle it, it's almost even crazier because I said, like, these days, like, to me, and like I said, just like you're saying, there's, I don't feel like accountability is taught near as much, so it's always somebody else's fault.
mm-hmm,
So, there's so much, and like I said, when you protect your kids so much, a lot of times, I feel like they don't get exposed to things that they necessarily you don't think they need to, but they do.
mm-hmm,
Like there's life's lessons that unfortunately they're not always fun. Some of them are much harder than others, and but that's how it builds you. That's
mm-hmm.
mentally, you have to go through some shit to get through some shit, and it's tough because these days it's and especially mental health is hard because you don't know what's going on in there. And if you don't take, like you're saying, if you don't take the time to find out, or at least check regularly all the time. By regularly, that doesn't mean like once a week. That means all the time.
Yeah,
You don't want to sound like a broken record, but at the same time, you check with your kids. You make sure. I think accountability is a huge one. When as a parent, when you fuck up, it's okay to tell your kid you fucked up.
yeah,
You know, you protect your kids, and you don't want them to stress and worry about adult
yeah,
things. But it's okay to explain to them certain things that, and it's by parent, it's parent to parent. But I feel like to have an open book of communication, so to make sure they understand like that life happens and you might go through some shit yourself, and and let them know that you're human and you do fuck up.
yeah,
You don't say, oh, it was so and so's fault, and I didn't do anything wrong. You know, you let them know you're human. Because you're oh man, mom fucked up, or dad fucked up. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything other than it shows that it's okay for things not to go right.
mm-hmm,
And then when they see you go through it, they say, hey, well, they can do it, we can do it. Or they, stability is, I can't preach it enough because I know how my life was, and I came out all right. And but some of the things I wish I had more of, and some
yeah,
of the things that I used to blame and be angry about when I kind of went off the deep end a little bit was stability. I didn't have, my mom was always working, so I didn't have a
yeah,
stability. I knew she was always working and stuff, but I had a freedom at a very young age, and a lot more freedom than a lot of kids did, to kind of just do what I wanted.
yeah,
And like it was, my mom whipped my ass if I did something like stupid. Don't get me wrong, but she was also working a lot, which means I had a lot of time
yeah,
to get into any kind of shit I wanted, and not necessarily be completely held accountable for it because I was spoiled rotten. And
yeah.
it's no secret that anybody knows. You know, it took me a long time to get to the man I am today. Probably there were guys my age that were men at 18, and then there was me who was a boy until he was in his 20s. And
Yeah.
you know, and that's fine, and that's how it is. But you know, mentally, I had some issues with it. I know, you know, kids these days today, I, I can I look at some of the stuff that some kids, like you're saying, can go through now at the age they do it, and I don't. I think sometimes I think I'd have took the easy way out. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, I don't know if I could have handled it, but a
Yeah.
lot of times I also see kids that some of the stuff I you know, when I don't know backstories and stuff, but I also the part of me is like, man, you know, it's and the first thing I do is what were their parents doing? Like how did it get to here? Like how did no one see this? You know, so many times, and that's you know that's what I love about teachers and why it blows my mind that teachers you know don't get paid more and don't get paid you know and don't get a lot of respect they deserve because when you're in school, when your parents are at work, you know the best therapy kids get is school, and
Yeah.
those teachers play a pivotal role in your children,
Yeah.
and so many things they might be missing at home that they
Yeah.
don't get at home they get from teachers, you know,
Oh yeah. And
and and most teachers, you know, God bless them, a lot of them aren't parents. Oh,
yeah,
most of them are.
man,
So they have it at home. So they, you know, and as a teacher, they a lot of times people probably forget they go through it too because you know they might have kids that are in school, and you know how it is if you're the teacher's kid.
man. And
And
I'm gonna flip it on you. You have to talk about teachers for a second.
then you know you got it's the same thing with coaches. Like I know, you know, I had some coaches that helped me out significantly, and I never, you know, and it's I never to this day I probably never went up back up to them and said, "Hey, man, thanks for what you did."
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I think they probably knew. And you know, I see that a lot with the coaches now. Like so many coaches, and coaches are a huge part of that too. You know, when you're out of school or when after school, when you get into sports and stuff, and you can see that anger sometimes in kids. That's where it really comes out. That's their therapy, and
It
coaches see that, and you know they'll teach you some of life's lessons that sometimes you don't want to hear from mom or dad. And thank God for
exactly right.
coach this or coach that because man, they'll straight set them down like it's their own kid a lot of times. Say, look here, man, or look here, miss, and like give them some advice or say something that resonates forever, and that's huge. And so when I see the disrespect for teachers sometimes and coaches and like how important they are as a factor in this too. It blows my mind because it, you know, like they say, I don't like to say it takes a village, you know that shit, but it
Yes,
really does. It really does,
it does.
and a lot of that is you know structure, accountability, and they get that a lot of times at school when they're allowed to because now even at school there's only so much you can do because now you know it affects our schools too. Teachers have to teach a certain way, you know, a punishment has to be a certain way, you know. There's so much of that gets tough nowadays too, but I know for a fact that like that structure and that accountability that they can still enforce and keep helps at home so much. So
Mm,
when you get everybody on the same page, and the other thing is when you talk about parents, sometimes parents are guilty. You know, a lot of times you'll have a teacher reach out to a parent and tell, and they're noticing things. They're seeing it at
yes,
school. They're
yes,
seeing the stuff that you're not seeing at home because they're not at home.
yeah,
You know, these kids are at school with these kids probably a lot of these kids, and you know then the internet comes into play and you add the combination and when a teacher reaches out to you and is like hey you know something's off or something doesn't seem right you know so many times you know I've heard of parents just be like you know it ain't nothing it's whatever you know
yeah,
or you know it's just a bad day well you know it might just be a bad day but it's worth investing in finding out what they're seeing you know you need to you know that's when you talk to your kids and find out what's going on you know you don't even have to tell them who told you you know
yeah.
but it's the that helps so much and things like that and you know it's just there's so much into it. With mental health for kids, and I think, like you said, parents. I know accountability and structure are the two big things I always try to
I
put on my kids here. It, it's
I think like what
it's
you
huge.
you know what you talk about is like you know teachers' hands are tied.
Yeah.
What one it's like used to be teachers could come down on kids and discipline
Uh-huh.
kids and now it's like it's funny is it used to be like the teachers and parents were a team to try to help correct and fix the child.
Right.
Uh, Coaches would see the kid and see the same thing and bring it up to the parents and coaches like my coaches, old coaches, I remember they were there to guide you just as much as your parents were. They also
Yeah.
disciplined you in certain ways. They held you accountable for certain things.
Yep.
And I think that's like the one thing with sports is that's missing is nowadays it's like you talk about it, it's like you have I find example use baseball as a prime example. Everybody's about I don't want coaches that don't have kids on the team. So they look for these big organizations. Some of their selling points to parents are, hey, we have college, you know, coaches, kids that played college ball has no kid on the team, but these kids, these young men, these young 20, 21, 22 year old guys who don't have kids don't know how to quite deal with the attitudes that come with it.
They can teach skills
They could
for
teach you
sports,
a
but
skill,
they don't know how to handle kids.
and I think that's what's gotten lost is
Hmm.
I know plenty of dads who can coach the game of football, basketball, baseball, and be great coaches because they understand kids.
Yeah.
And then you have these young guys, and yeah, they can fundamentally, teach them all the basic fundamentals sometimes,
Hmm.
but don't know how to deal with the attitudes or the different egos or
Yeah.
they're they're more of that rah rah type.
Yeah.
See, and I think it used to be that your parents and your coaches also teamed together to help solve issues that they were seeing with kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parents would come to the coaches and say, "Hey, can you talk to them? Maybe someone different other than us, you know, can help get stuff out of them." And I think that has gone by the wayside as well.
Exactly. A lot of times,
And
yeah.
it's like we live in this, and we both said it many numerous times, in that we live in such a society today that's instant gratification. No one wants to put in the effort. No one wants to put in the time. They don't want to do the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
It's like I always say it's easier to be standing there and say, congratulations, we did it, than it
Yeah.
is to go, hey, you did it because I saw the grind, I saw
Yeah.
the ups, the downs, the peaks, the valleys, the bad, the good. We battle through that together, but stand back and go, it's your time to shine. You did that. I just helped you along the way.
Yeah. I have nothing to do with it. I
I'm
just
going to
kind of pushed you.
use, it's like, it amazes me that adults have gotten so when I say this, it's like selfish in, in life, especially when it comes to youth sports, that adults will beat up a kid's ego just to boost their own ego.
Yeah.
That you're winning a trophy means more to you than it does if you affected this kid's life or you boosted a kid's confidence. or you help the kid. It's like you help the kid some way somehow.
Right.
It's like it. That's what absolutely floors me.
Yeah.
I say the youth sports world out there is more about recruiting than it is actual coaching. It used to be about I want kids to coach and you taught them, you held them accountable, you did this. Now it's about taking kids and saying, "How can I win quickly?" And then you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
realize as coaches what the mental damage it does to those kids that if you would have gave them a chance,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you would have just been patient with them or worked with them and all that stuff
And
and did what
and
you could.
it's perception too, man. Like you said, like when I've coached anytime I've coached baseball or helped kids with it, or I quit playing football, but I mean it's no secret honestly I was probably better at football than I was at baseball. But it just knowing passing on the knowledge of something I enjoy is what I did it for. Like I mean, don't get me wrong, it was never for a paycheck, so I can't argue that part of coaching. I wasn't getting a piece of the pie, but I wanted to see the kids. The biggest thing for me is I wanted to see the kids improve, and if they were going through shit,
Yeah,
or if anything like that, I wanted to teach something that I was so passionate about and loved to the kids so they could, because I love seeing that kind of
yeah,
passion or that love for something. Like I love seeing them get it.
yeah,
Like, and then it's
yeah,
just fun to be. It was fun to be a part of, and I didn't give a
yeah,
shit about winning it. Like, yeah, I wanted to win. Don't get me wrong, but if we didn't,
yeah,
if my guys were out there grinding and learning, the
yeah,
wins were going to come. It didn't
yeah,
matter about the trophy.
and-
They were going to win. I wanted to see them successful, but I knew too in life that if they could find that drive and passion in sport,
yeah,
and they knew that they could get driven and love something like that and work so hard to get better and practice that they could apply that to anything else. And
yeah.
in some
But
ways, they may use that to drive themselves that way. And then, like you said, I've seen so many coaches just, being at a tournament selling bats or just going to a couple games with my buddy's kids, just observing
yeah,
the some of, not all, don't get me wrong, but some of the coaching. And I'm like, and I used to, and Ashley's heard me say it. I call them look at me coaches.
hmm,
And it's just a kind of a side joke I make between her and me and just in general. But I'll call them look at me coaches because you can do it as well as I can. I'm sure. Like I can sit and it might take me 2 innings, maybe not even that. And I'm sitting here going, I'm like, this isn't about these kids, man. They're look at me coaches. This has nothing to do with
yeah,
this guy's trying to get a trophy to set on his mantle to tell his other buddies about,
yeah.
you know.
Oh
And
yeah,
it was just, and that mentality because we saw it in slow pitch softball. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved to win when we played. I loved it,
yeah,
but I didn't care about no fucking fake gold ring. The last thing I give a shit about is, I like T-shirts because I wore them to work, but I didn't give a damn about any of that, And I was there because I enjoyed playing it, and when you're coaching kids, I've always thought that's what the point, my side of it has always been. My perspective is you're there to make them better and help them be kids and grow and give them something that you love and some
yeah,
structure and let them find their drive, what drives them, their fire. That
yeah,
then they can take it whether it's in sports or whether it's parenting or work or as a
yeah,
husband or anything.
yeah,
Take what they found there, if that's where they found it, and put it into something else. Learn how to learn how to develop that and take it and put it into everything else.
yeah,
Because if you can find it in this, you can find it in that. Well, and that could be band, that could
yeah.
be fucking bookkeeping. I don't give a shit what it is. You know,
It,
and
it,
coaches really do have they can have that effect. But it's
it, and that can, and it's like with me, so and it in ways it's a two-way street too, because it's like you want to help kids, you want to help them work out the kinks, but the kids also got to be willing to
yes, yes,
to be willing to be coached or
Hmm.
and or be willing and open to understand, what it takes. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think that gets lost. And here's a prime example. It's like, you kids that who will struggle, and not want to put in all the extra work to maybe play at a level, and then, okay, let's coddle them and let's go ahead and oh, well, you know what, we'll start a team for you.
Yeah.
And
Instead of
so just
addressing
to
the
make
problem.
sure, just to make sure that you continue to play, because I feel you should play. And let's, because daddy came, flies in and saves the day,
Yeah.
because you're maybe not getting that playing time. You don't want to put in the extra work to get that playing time, and you're just kind of there and you're going through the motions. Are you willing to learn? And it's kind of hard. It's twofold, because you have, that side of it, and and it's like, are you doing the right thing? Are you crushing? Sometimes you don't look at it and say, are you crushing the kids, the mental side of it?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what I said. It's like, are you part of that problem? Because you're trying to build his confidence, but you're trying to do, but you can only fight so long before even adults go, man, I tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried, and you want to, as coaches, you try to, coaches, teachers, anybody. It's like, teachers will say, I want to teach the kids that want to learn,
Yeah.
and you kind of put up with the kids that don't want to learn until they're out your door.
Yeah.
And you try to, you wish you could do it all for everybody, but it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I think
But
you think about it too. We talk what we're talking here. I look at opportunities, right?
yeah,
You have, and that's where teachers, coaches, parents come in. Uh, there are kids out there that might get one opportunity ever.
yep,
That's just the way of it. Then there are countless, especially the world we live in today. There are countless kids, parents, people in general that get an unlimited amount of opportunities. You
yeah,
know, there are parents that find you opportunities or they create opportunities. Thus, little Timmy's not very good at this right now. So let's create a new opportunity for him and start our own team
yep.
so that he can play. And coming from me, anybody that listens to this, I don't give a shit what, might mean nothing. But you and me can sit here and I'll stand by this till the day I die. When you get presented an opportunity, and it's just like I'm trying right now. I have a boy in the other room that I can't preach this enough to.
Uh-huh.
When an opportunity is presented to you, and maybe you're not seeing it, but you know it's there, and in the back of your mind, you're either afraid of it
Uh-huh.
or not sure how to handle it
Uh-huh.
or questioning if you deserve it. If you think opportunities just come along and are just like, you know, there's just countless ones and you'll always get them, then that's where
Yeah.
you're wrong. You Nobody on this life or in this earth can take opportunities for granted, and I think it is something that's not taught near as much as it should. Because when
Yeah.
you get an opportunity, once that opportunity is presented to you, it's on you, the individual, to do what you want with that opportunity. On a baseball team, you get a chance to start a game. You can go 90 to nothing and balls out the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
or you can't. And you can choose how you handle it. You can get a
Yeah.
job opportunity. You can go into that job and tell yourself, I'm going to fucking tear this up and own it and do and work hard at it and succeed at it and let life do the rest. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, you can go home and go to bed at night knowing you gave it everything you had. Or
Mm-hmm.
you can be someone that shoulder shrugs and says, "Oh, well, I got a chance to do this." You go into it and you're like this. Well, if this doesn't work out, there'll be another one. Well, if this doesn't work out, there'll be another one. Mom,
Yeah.
mom will make sure. Mom will make sure I got another shot at this. Dad will make sure I got another shot at this, or so and so above. They'll pull some strings, and I'll get another shot at this.
Yeah.
You know, and then at that point, it's yours to do what you want with it. But if you take it for granted, What if you run out of opportunities and you got nowhere to turn or look? Then you
Well,
just got yourself. And that's with mental health too. That's one of the things when you face a situation like that, you know, it can weigh on you. And that's
yeah,
again the coaches and parenting is how you handle how they deliver things to you, how they look at things, how they're and like me and you, there's a difference in pushing your kid and you know going too far.
yeah.
And that's part of it too. If you know what I'm saying, there's
Well,
it's when you say opportunity, it just made me it's that's one of those things where I think people take for
well,
granted opportunities too, a lot.
kind of flipping the script a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
talking about teachers, and it kind of makes me think of mental health too. Do you? I'm sure you keep up on current events in the news,
Some.
and just recently, and it kind of maybe plays into it that there was another young teacher out there who was doing the dirties was some schoolboys and got caught.
Yeah.
And we talked about bullying. you know, and I look at how would I say this? It's like you look at what society has brings about.
Yeah.
And when we grew up, it was always the sexual predators were male.
Yeah.
Majority of sexual predators are known to be male.
Yeah.
But we're having more and more younger female teachers who are having more and more sexual relationships and getting caught with their students who happen to be, the 16, 17-year-old age. And these young teachers in mid 20s, you know, 30s or whatnot. As seriously as it is, I always get a chuckle out of it. And I'm sure there's 50 million guys in this world that go, where were those teachers at when I was coming out of school?
I tell you what, man, them boys these days, though, them 16-year-old boys. I got one in the other room. He ain't much for words, but he's got a couple buddies that I'll tell you what. I ain't defending it or anything, but by God, the shit that comes out of their mouths, them motherfuckers smooth as a baby's ass. Like boy, like just man, as the kids call it, the Riz.
Yeah.
They got it.
Oh, they got the
Oh,
gift. Hold on, like you used to say, I had the gift for gab. They got the
oh my
gift for gab.
God, yes. Like yeah, well, exactly. When you and me would go out places, man, with the ladies, I ain't trying to talk to no women while I'm out. I'm trying to drink my beer, trying to drink whiskey. One come up and say, "Hey, Dave," you might get a wave out of me. You're over there, and I'm like, this girl gonna tell you her whole life story in 10 minutes. Like she didn't want to go anywhere else. I'm like, how the hell? He's just talking, just just killing it. And I don't know what's going on with teachers like them young teachers and shit. But
And I don't,
don't be
and
doing that now, women, ladies. Come on now.
now, and I go, and it's maybe it's not a jokingly thing, but
No, but it's still like,
it,
man,
it's I look at it and go, I kind of look at it as I always say it's like I look at the whole picture. I try to look at the whole picture, and I go, of course, I'm sure she probably has some, young teacher, and a lot of times you got to understand some of these girls are fresh out of college,
yeah, yeah,
single, still like to get out and party a little bit, and when you have 16, 17 year, 18-year-old, boys that look like fucking 25-year-old grown men.
yeah, yeah.
And these relationships spark up in the classroom, and then like you see some of these teachers and what they're wearing, and they're flaunting themselves on Instagram, they're flaunting themselves on TikTok as, ooh, look at my outfit today. And I go, That ain't type of shit my teachers were when when I was coming up. We had one teacher, and she was a substitute teacher who was the wife of it was one of the football coaches.
Yeah.
And the most extravagant you ever see, like you see her because she'd wear those little knee high mini skirts, and she'd wear a black leather one. Drove
Yeah.
all the boys crazy. She's attractive. She's an attractive lady, but she was also the youngest at like 30 something
Right.
of all the teachers we had going on.
Yeah.
You know, I never had a 25-year-old straight out of college teacher when I grew up. Not that I
Right.
remember.
Right.
All those, they were the ones that ended up working in kindergarten,
Yeah.
Get their feet wet and not straight to high school.
Not in the high school with the teenagers. We had a couple attractive teachers, but back in my day, like when we had a couple of attractive teachers, but they were mean as fuck, like straight rattlesnakes. Like I, hell no, man. I don't even want to say hi to them. Like, let alone walk in their classroom. I'm like, no, man, I'm good. I'm gonna go to old lady over here,
And
hang out.
if I remember the story correctly, and I think she was even trying to figure out, a little menage a trois, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like I look at it and we talk about mental health and stuff because clearly there's something going on with this teacher and what she's thinking and how she's it's like I mean, yeah, we're joking about, laughing about, but people that prey on young kids
Yeah.
is not right.
No.
But
No.
we laugh because we say it's a female teacher to a boy teacher.
Yeah. So it's still
Now,
uncommon. It's not a.
if it was a male teacher to a young girl, we'd be absolutely probably irate and wanting to, like go to battle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it's like I think it's that aspect is where you go, now you got to put up. Now it's out. You
Yeah.
feel guilty. The young boy tells, it all comes out. Now you got to put up with your friends absolutely giving you shit day in and day out.
Yeah. Yep.
I was just, that was when you were talking about the teachers and being accountable and the things they did. And I was all like, I was kind of going to bring this thing up and it kind of led into it. And I was like, you know, yeah,
The world we live in is a funny place.
it's
I shouldn't
like,
say this, but she was addicted to what little Timmy's dick did. It's just and again, it is a mental health thing. There's probably some insecurities there, some fucked up fetishes and stuff that has no place no place in education and in the schoolroom, and you hate to see stuff like that. But man,
I don't
it's the world we
see.
live in.
No, no, hey, they should never took sex ed out of high school.
That internet, man. Somebody
Oh,
somebody googled
hey,
teaching a kid, and there you have
what?
it.
You Google teacher spanking kids, then it comes up with a whole
No,
different
no,
aspect.
no, no. See, we can have fun on here still. We,
Yeah,
all
man.
seriousness
Okay,
aside, we can still make the jokes.
uh, as we kind of come to it. The Olympics is in its final days, and I
Steph
was going to say,
Curry.
I almost told you when we talked about it that the men's basketball team
Steph Curry.
almost lost to Serbia,
Told
and it
Nick
almost lost to France.
Steph
It took
Curry.
miracles from Steph Curry in pretty much both games. I watched the one in Serbia, and it took Steph 37 points to go off. And then in France, it took Steph to cook.
It must be tough to have the greatest shooter of all time chilling on your lip. A healthy a healthy Steph Curry
Mm-hmm.
having the greatest shooter. Literally, if anybody argues that, they're fucking out of their mind. The greatest shooter of all time, just ready to go, knowing that the only motivation that man has left in his career at 30, was it 35 or 37, somewhere in there?
Yeah.
I think 37, they said, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Only motivation he had left in his career. He's got rings, he's got his 3 points. There's nobody that can argue that he's not the greatest shooter ever in the NBA. Ever.
Yeah.
He had the only thing he didn't have was a gold medal for basketball, and he had acknowledged that. And why, amen to Steve Kerr being his coach and
Yeah.
knowing who do you give the ball, who's going to take this at this point, who's got ice in their veins in situations like this, and when you need to throw daggers up,
Yes,
who do you
sir.
do? Steph fucking Curry. And that dude never doesn't do that. That is what he does. And then knowing that
Well,
you have the second greatest basketball player of all time, second
I
greatest
think,
basketball player of all time, and arguably at 35 and healthy enough to be playing, arguably maybe one of the greatest scorers of all
yeah,
time, all
Kevin Durant.
starting. One of them three is going, and at one point they all did.
Yeah.
One of them three is going to do something that makes you go, holy shit, they're not going to just let them lose. And then perfect team players, Devin Booker being, I don't even watch basketball, and I was
Hey,
invested in it. Devin Booker being the ultimate team guy, just doing what he
look
needed to do.
at Tatum,
Anthony Davis,
Jason Tatum, Tyrese
Jason,
Halliburton.
yeah, just
Hey,
everything they did, man.
hey, Tyrese Halliburton probably posted one of the best freaking Instagram pics ever.
Was it them all
When
up
he,
on the steps?
when no, he held up his gold medal and said it's like being in the group and not doing any of the work and you still get an A. And he was holding his gold medal.
I like it. It was cool too, man, to see like Carmelo and all those guys there. That you can tell that shit means something to them. Like, and it's good to see. Like, and like
Well,
the interview yesterday when they were talking with
could you
Curry after the game.
only imagine if they would end up losing to Serbia
Oh,
or if they end up with a losing to France?
yeah.
It would have been, yeah,
I'll tell you what though, man. If anybody ain't, last year, it was already the hype train when he was there. But if anybody hasn't seen Wemby play yet and was watching that, that's a child playing with some of the greatest players of all time against some of the goats or close to goats, and holding his own just fine. And when I say child, that man is a child.
yeah,
What is he? 22, 21?
yep,
He's a
20s,
baby.
baby,
Yeah, the NBA, like I don't watch it, but I'll tell you what, when it's in hands like that man's going forward and stuff,
yeah,
when LeBron goes and Steph goes and Durant goes and some of those Kyrie goes, some of those guys call it quits.
yep,
I seeing what the world has to offer and where the NBA is at as far as young talent, I
uh-huh,
think they're going to be okay.
yeah,
It was crazy. And then the Olympic women's wrestling team, the United States
yeah,
women's wrestling team,
yeah,
sad, tough role for the boys or for the men. First time they haven't had a gold medal since 1968. A lot of dudes. I mean, I don't know if you tuned in any of that. There are some
seen some.
serious,
I caught some.
yeah,
It's
there were some serious world competitor wrestlers in there that were doing what they do. It was impressive. They had some nuts. Then they had the Greco-Roman dude from Cuba.
yeah,
This one, like he's 40 some
yeah,
years old, and that's nuts. Shikari or
yeah.
Shikari, the fastest women
Well,
ever.
the one I think I'm gonna go get prepared for in 2028, man. I think I'm ready. I think I'm gonna get back into it.
Yep.
Go back to my days of 1982.
Breakdance, ain't you? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
oh
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
time.
Man, did you? I don't know. Was it from the Irish lady or wherever the hell she was from? I don't know. There's a clip I keep seeing of the one lady, and I'm like, what the hell is that lady doing? I'm like, is this real?
I was
Oh
before
my
my
god.
time.
Oh man.
It was a
Man,
sad 1982.
I'll tell you what. Electric Boogaloo was thinking, what the fuck is going on here? But he should be proud.
Hey, Turbo and the Ozone are like, what the fuck?
We got Shaft here. God, yeah, man. It's oh boy.
I'm telling you, hey, I'm going for gold 2028.
I love it. Bring back Big Cinnamon.
Hey, I get down, I break something.
Man, I'm telling you, we can stand up on some skates. We can get this curling thing down in the Winter Olympics. Get that curling raft with the broom,
Well,
man. Just get a shake weight and get ready.
yep, that hey man, 2028. I'm coming back.
Yeah,
Big Cinnamon on the
I love it.
breakdancing gold medal 2028.
Did you
Uh,
did you catch any preseason football yesterday?
I did. Unfortunately, I did watch the Bears, um, and I watched that game a little bit. Uh,
What did you
then
think?
I had some family over,
Yeah.
so I didn't get it. And it was crazy because I went to put Chiefs on,
Don't get
and
me started on that.
The NFL Network had me blocked out.
NFL Network had everybody fucking blocked out. It was only on 38 the spot, the Chiefs app,
And
or you
see,
had to have 38 spot.
I don't have basic cable. I have YouTube, so I didn't
Yep.
get 38 spot.
Same. And I'll tell you what,
So
like even if it's a preseason game
yeah,
in this city, you black out an NFL Network, you ain't never gonna
oh,
hear this. But I'll tell you
hey,
what,
hey,
you're in the wrong city for that to fucking happen
hey,
ever.
one of my family members, we caught we caught a glimpse of it, and
Yeah,
it said out of network, and we caught Jacksonville scoring, and then
yeah,
we caught the field goal and put us up 3-0. Then we caught
Jack
Jacksonville's
Tutties, yeah, the ETN
tutty,
Tutty, and then it was gone.
and then it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about, I had a family member had absolute lost her mind.
You ought to ask Ashley how I was. I fucking went ballistic. Like I'm trying to download the app onto my phone, and
Oh
I'm like, we get like Kelsey and patty cakes for like one drive, and what do I get to see? The
yeah,
only fucking play I get to see, or the three plays I get to see, is Hollywood Brown fucking get hurt,
yeah,
and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Then Pacheco with the great run, and I'm like, yeah, hell yes, this looks all right. Then all of a sudden we're blacked out. Then I'm watching us kick a field goal. I'm like, all right, good job, Bucker. And then next thing I know, I'm watching fucking Travis Etienne catch a touchdown pass, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the Jaguars offense. What are we doing? And then I go back on there and I'm like, all right, drive two, nothing. And I just got pissed. Like I was so mad. And I'm like, man, this ain't the city for that shit. They better fuck. You don't black out nothing. We already can't
yeah,
watch a fucking Royals ever.
yeah. Oh, it was boy. I had family members losing their mind, and I wanted to watch it, and
And
then I was all like, it's just preseason. I was like, shit,
yeah,
like, but I did watch the
take that
Bears.
shit serious.
I did watch the
Caleb
Bears.
Williams, man, what'd you think?
Let's see when real
Not
season
bad.
comes. Not bad.
Exactly. Not a bad. Him and I don't know if you saw, like, if you could get a chance, Jaden Daniels' first drive for the Washington.
Yeah.
Uh,
But let's wait till they go up
yeah,
against.
yeah. I know it'll. Yeah, the speed will change and shit. But you're like, all right. And then JJ McCarthy. I mean, he did throw the boner pick, but after that,
Yeah.
like when he got settled in, I'm like, and that's what I told myself. I'm like, it's preseason, but man, I would love to see all of them succeed.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great for the game.
Yeah.
It'll help when some of the last of the old heads that are left
Yeah.
retire. I think the NFL, it's
They're in
the
good hands.
running backs and Yeah, the running backs, unfortunately, it's not helping them out when all these gunslingers are coming out just
It
one after
is.
another, and like it's crazy. The development of some of this quarterback play is insane. Like there is no Mahomes. Like
It used to.
they'll try to be, but
It used to be. It was all like they didn't want mobile. They wanted pocket passers.
yep,
The college game was about mobile quarterbacks.
yep,
They wanted that pro style
yep,
in the pocket passer who could be mobile and move when he had to.
yep. How can you take a
Now,
snap under the butt, and how can you
now,
stand in the pocket to throw?
now you got these young coaches who love the mobile quarterbacks
Exactly.
who can sling the ball. And I I go back to saying is Lamar Jackson has helped that it works.
Yeah.
I think Patty Mahomes is such a hybrid of his own. He is a mixture of the old school with the new school, and you got the perfect mix of it all. He reminds
Patty Mahomes is what you do when you take Dan Marino, Joe Montana, and Brady, mix them together with Mike Vick, Randall Cunningham, and say,
yeah,
"Here you go, have a good time."
yeah,
Oh, and then you add, if you get bored, you can also throw in Omar Vizquel and Nolan Ryan.
yeah.
Mix them in that too, and then there's your quarterback. Josh Allen is not far behind that.
No,
There are some of these guys.
no, Burrow is not
No,
far behind.
There's the quarterback play is it it's
I tell you
insane.
right now,
Like it's exceptional.
if there is one team out there that has a strong possibility and has a very strong possibility, if he stays healthy, is going to be Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, but man, fucking, they're good. I can't take that away from them. I fucking hate both of them too. I hate Jamar Chase just because he doesn't acknowledge. He needs like acknowledge me.
But
I
that's
really wish
what
Mahomes needs to put on an acknowledge me shirt
that's what I
and
think
fucking.
would make this like kind of new rivalry,
Oh yeah,
and it felt great because
yeah,
you
because they
have
set it up to hate him.
yeah,
Oh yeah, there's no that you can. They play the parts perfectly. Like
yeah,
they want us to hate them,
yeah.
and we hate
Like
them.
Buffalo, they tried.
Yeah.
If Buffalo's learned who's your daddy,
No, exactly. They put up a valid effort. We'll beat you. We'll beat you in the regular season, and Chiefs fans are like, oh, okay, you got us, little fellas. And then in the playoffs, you're like, oh yeah, then there's this, and you're gonna watch. You're gonna watch again. Then you're gonna watch again. Joey B beat us when it mattered,
yeah,
and then my boy Matty Stafford reminded him that some things just age with fine wine. But I fucking hate Jamar Chase so much, and it's not because he's not. He's just so talented. But everything he says fucking pisses me off.
what's crazy is I sit there and go, how fucking crazy was that LSU team when you
Dude,
look back?
I argue with anybody when you talk about the most loaded college football team of all time. You can tell me all about Miami or any Penn State or any Ohio State team ever on paper, and I will fucking say, cool, I raise you LSU for one season.
Those boys
That
are bad.
team, that's the most retarded offense. Pardon my French, sorry. Ridiculous, not ever, like fucking ever.
I think they're the craziest all around team when you have Burrow, Chase, and Jet.
And
You
Clyde,
had like all.
Clyde in college was sick.
Hey, the only other team I may compare that to would have been the Florida team
Oh well, okay, that one might have a
that
ring.
had Tebow with all them boys.
And
But
so
other
yeah,
than
because a
that,
lot of
man,
people forget who was on that team. That team had
yeah,
some.
yeah,
Percy Harvin in college was a cheat code. So,
it was very cheat code.
but dude, Jay Jettas and Jamar Chase lining up. Come on, can you imagine being some freshman cornerback
And
from like
the
South
running backs
Carolina?
I
And
mean,
then like
they had a running game on top of it.
Clyde was a stud in college. Their defense was good. Half those guys are in the NFL. You're like,
Well, going
I
back, man, before we get off here, um, you still pay attention. I do from time to time. You still pay attention to the major slow pitch softball scene.
a little bit.
Okay.
I watch.
Now I
I'd be
catch the
lying.
highlight
I
on YouTube.
watch Resmondo. I'll
Now
always watch Resmondo.
a lot of people probably know us through the slow pitch softball side of things, and granted, we didn't get up to ever that level.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching YouTube and catching some of the highlights of one of the tournaments that is, they call it the granddaddy of them all, the Smoky Mountain Classic.
Dingers.
Ourselves, we have some buddies that have played in that tournament.
Oh yeah.
And I just, at time to time, I like watching the little highlights that are on YouTube just to kind of, I can watch that level of slow pitch softball. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
But please answer me how a major conference team, can go up 30 runs in one inning and turn around and still get spread by the run rule. Now, granted, the team you're playing against is probably the best team, like we always joke, ever assembled, ever played. But it just amazed me how they just came out and said, "So what? We're going
They
to
don't give a
chip
fuck,
away,
man.
and we're just going to." I think in the first inning it was like 35 to
Oh
nothing
yeah.
or 36 to nothing or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Like
They didn't give a
said,
shit.
they said, "Hold my beer. Watch this."
Man, that team. Oh, man, when you, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. Like, when Josh Riley leads off your team, and it doesn't get any better. Like, you're like, okay, here's Josh Riley, and then just for shits and giggles, here's Kyle Peterson, and then you're like, we're gonna go Josh Riley, KP, and then when we're bored, we're gonna get Connie, who's now getting into old man strength mode, and then you got Connie, and then then Travis Clark, who's old now. God, I love his gray hair. It's awesome that he's still there. Travis Clark, has evolved over the years into just a good pitcher, into like a freak hitter, just like Andy Purcell did. And then after that, you ain't even got to Bradley Jones yet. And that dude is the baddest motherfucker. Minor league baseball, cuts the ball in ways that I can't even fucking fathom standing in the field trying to be near that.
Hey, man,
Then
I
Bubba.
like when he lit up that pitcher.
Oh, I thought he died. That dude got hit in the guts. I'm like, that dude ain't gonna shit right the rest of his life. Because he
Oh,
caught, that was meat. There was nothing but meat there. I'm like, that guy's dead. If that guy's not dead or doesn't have a ruptured fucking spleen, I don't know what would. That ball was probably coming 122 miles an hour, right
well,
in the
man,
gut.
I was sitting there and I saw it, and I when I saw it, I meant to bring it up maybe 2 episodes ago, and I don't pay attention. I could, other than what I see on social media in Facebook land here locally,
Yeah.
kind of, I could go out to the field right now and couldn't tell you who was who.
No, I gotta go. I'd have to go find our buddies because I don't have a clue who anybody is anymore.
If they're still around.
Yeah, I'd have to go like,
Have
yeah.
majority of my guys who I know they're offered to the senior ball land.
If I win, I would be going to find Cody Hall just to see what young kids he's got. Because wherever Cody's at, there's a whole new crop of young kids, or wherever Butabi's at, there's a whole new crop of young kids. I'm finding Doug and Cody and being like, or I'm looking for Tommy's giant ass that's still out there hitting dingers. Other than that, I'm like, I know some of the, and I'll know some of the young kids that Cash brought on there at the end, but yeah, I'd be like, because I looked at the pictures like, I'll see the pictures they post from the tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
And I look for the usual faces, like you'll look for Burkhardt or you'll look for, you know, Connor, Tommy, anybody that like that stands out that's always
Yeah.
been really good. But then you look for then I'm like, is that somebody's kid when we played? And half the
Shout,
time, like, hell, I know I didn't know like Robbie McDaniel's kid plays. I'm like, what? I about fell
shout
over.
out,
I had no idea he had a kid that old.
shout out to Mr. Burkhart's wife,
Okay,
who was she voted coach of the year or
coach, you.
conference coach of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and for the high school that she coaches. So I
Mm-hmm.
got to give her. I got to, I see that. That's pretty awesome to see, man. And then
Hell yeah.
a lot of people are out there coaching college ball. That you would
Miss
see,
Nordell,
just
Taylor's going to coach. I think she got promoted.
but you see some of that stuff, man. It's pretty cool to see, man. But I got to give a shout out to probably one of the best slow pitch softball sponsors in this area,
But
and Bobby O with B&B Drywall. Uh, I got the privilege I only did probably like not even a half a season because I had a pregnant, wife at the time and walked away from the game a little bit. But he was absolutely awesome, awesome sponsor. Got to work with him with a lot of his uniforms. Shout out Berserk Athletics for all your team custom uniform needs. But he was just an awesome guy, man. A great sponsor for the game. I know there's a lot of new sponsors out there, which is awesome. But I had to wear this today, man, because it made me. I was like, it was like, oh, I got to, because I was going to say something about the slow pitch game that I saw. I was like, holy shit. How are you down 30 something and lose?
I'll tell you
Like that
what,
should have been run spread in 3 with
right?
unlimited home runs at the major conference level.
It's crazy. I'll tell you what,
They,
you got that on. I was thinking that when I saw that on you, I was laughing. I was like, oh man, it brought back memories just thinking, you know, drinking beer with Bobby O and stuff. But like, so we meet people in the softball community that like, it sucks that they don't they either their lives take them other places or like your life takes you other places and you don't get to see them anymore. You don't talk to them anymore near as much. That's me with
yeah.
Brandon O'Neill. I fucking miss me some Brandon O'Neill. I can't tell you how much I love that dude so much. He was
I
my one of
let
my
me hold
other than
on, dude.
Canuck will all you and Canuck are my favorite two ever. But Izzy and Brandon and I'll tell those two.
Well, I do have. I bet you didn't know this. The designer of
Oh,
this
and
logo.
Barry. Shout out to Barry.
Huh?
I
You do
said
know
Barry Finley.
Barry designed this logo,
Mm-hmm.
and Bobby went with it. Now, my
Yeah.
best Bobby O'Neill story is we were playing at Mid America in a 40 and over division, tournament, and we're having to play B&B. And so, and people know in senior ball, if they're watching us, you get 5 runs a inning. So they come up, they put their 5 up real quick. So I come up, we come up our first and we match at 5. So I sit there and I think my first at bat, I hit a hard line drive out. Matter of fact, it was to Barry. So second inning, Bobby comes around and he's walking around to coach first base and we're in the first base side dugout. Bobby goes, Dave. I said, what? I said, yes, sir. He goes, take a sip.
Yep.
Bobby had me. Bobby
Always
had me. He had me a small bottle of Crown. He goes, now you
always with
about
the
to go.
whiskey.
He goes, now go hit the ball. Was, I didn't think I'd
Yep.
make it out the rest of the game.
I love it, man. My favorite Bobby. Well, I got two. My favorite Bobby O'Neill one of my first ones was turkey turning when I played with those guys and like got on my absolutely fucking insane hot streak at turkey turnies. And
Uh,
here's this little fat guy, and we were playing when the B&B drywall men's team first came out, and we were playing
yeah.
the turkey tourney and absolutely fucking throttled them. And I was hitting the ball all over the fucking everywhere. And I remember after the game, Bobby O'Neill came up to me and was giving me, and he's like, you don't play with these guys, you little fat ass don't play with any of these guys. I'm like, no. And he's like, I heard you can fucking drink though. And I'm like, yes, I can. And we drink some whiskey, and I remember Pat Price looking at us, just shaking his fucking head. But then my favorite Bobby O'Neill, when I coached the Green Space girls, were Hooters tournament.
Uh-huh.
You got the B&B drywall girls. You got Logan and Barry coaching them.
Uh-huh.
Bobby sponsoring them. We
Yeah.
got Katie's Green Space girls. I'm coaching them, and of course I couldn't. Me being sober at one of those tournaments is that's not going to happen. So I remember coaching third base, just talking mad shit, just talking shit. And I remember, like before the game and after the game, me and Bobby sitting up in the damn fucking bar up there, just
Yeah.
getting fucking hammered. And
Yeah.
I was just jawing him the whole time. And like he was
Yeah.
hilarious because he always just had more. No matter what, he'd just come out with some kind of whiskey.
Yeah.
He always had like a bottle of whiskey or like a little shader or something. I was
Yep.
just bullshitting with you. I mean, I love that guy. He was awesome.
Bobby O'Neill, man, I tell you what, he was probably one of the best guys, and he definitely took care of the people when his teams and the people on his teams.
Sure.
And I was always fortunate. Like I said, I when we had a little C team at the time, and he helped sponsor it, and I helped kind of coach it, and then I you know decided to go ahead and move on to 40 and over ball with it. And just because it freed up my time and all that stuff, just having a newborn. But
Yep.
Bobby was an absolute loved him. Um, Great guy in the community and stuff like that, man. But, like you said, it was always when I got to play a couple 40 and over tournaments against Bobby and Bobby be around, I don't care where I was, he always come and said hi. And it was just
Oh yeah.
that, hey man,
Yep.
here, have a sip.
Yep.
Have a sip, Dave. Have a sip. And
My man.
he hated it when I called him Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah, I bet.
And that was, or when I said sir to him, but he never understood that was out of respect.
Yep.
So,
Good dude.
I tip my cap to Mr. O'Neill and everything he's done for you know, the slow pitch softball world in the Kansas City metro area on both sides of the state line in
Yeah.
Kansas City, Missouri, and the fact that he was one of the ones to step up as a sponsor for they do the big tournament that has all the states.
Yep.
So, you know, he did the Team Missouri and it absolutely hated him that he went with black and gold and he has to put a tiger on the sleeve. And then, he absolutely didn't like that.
I'm
So
sure. Speaking of shout outs, we can't not address this. I was chomping at the bit for this. I waited from the fucking beginning of this week.
uh-huh.
I was like, oh my god, if there was ever someone you didn't want to steal something from. Shout out to our boy James Hudson and his
Oh,
tracking skills, and Miss Dana, Mama, Dave, and everyone at Berserk. Let this be a lesson, folks, especially you meth heads from the Prospect area.
what?
If you steal the Berserk wrap truck, Hudson will find you. He will put you on video, and Hudson has enough connections. God bless that guy. He will get you fucking caught and get his shit back. If you did not know that about James Hudson, now you do. That I'm like, as soon as Mama posted the truck was missing, I'm like, I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, Hudson will fucking
Well,
track this thing down in no time.
I it was crazy because I laughed a little bit because when I found out about it, usually, because I've worked there, I thought it would have been not him posting it. I thought it would have been a little more, hey, our company truck got stolen.
Yeah.
Or why in the middle of the afternoon? And it was like, it sat in the office. Like, did no one notice? But there was time, and I kind of chuckled at it because one time he thought it was gone, and he forgot he lent it to somebody. So
It just took it
when
actually being gone.
in realizing it was gone, and I was all like, and when he told me where it was last spotted, I said, "Oh, they're heading down there. You're never gonna see it. You're heading to that part of the city. That's if they find it, it's gonna be stripped. is going to be probably burnt down and all that stuff. But I saw the alert first thing in the morning, I was all like, I can't believe it. And then I was all like, well, where is it at? I'll go. I was ready to hop in the car and go drive that area because I'm like, that was only 10 minutes from where I live.
Yeah.
And kind of scoped the area. And I shot him a message and he was like, don't worry about it. We already found it. And then he was all, and then of course, as you could tell, now it's let's try to raise some money and which let's make some fun and make light of the situation. And we got Grand Theft Auto Berserk Athletics.
I love it. I love it, man. Don't steal from Hudson, people. Don't do it. Just keep the meth and eat your Chinese food. Don't eat your Chinese food in this truck either. Goddamn, come on now.
Well, of course, I got to see the pictures of the inside of the truck, and I'm like, good Lord, they were having a heyday.
Yeah, I bet Mama was like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
So, for all you that know, don't do it. He will.
He'll get you.
He'll get you.
Mama Hudson finds you, man.
He needs to walk in every day, with that song "Bad Boys" playing behind him.
Right.
Walking. That's what he needs to do. But
fucking crazy, man. Crazy.
With that, man, before we go, I finally found one.
I was getting ready to say, man, you can't beat that. That's money. Chris Sabo and Eric Davis would be proud.
Barry Larkin,
Pete Rose, you name it. Johnny, Joe Morgan.
And I think what I like the most about it too is it's got 3 River Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of go back. But
I got the swinging lawn gnomes.
That's
Noble North swinging lawn gnome. He's even got a little. Check out the pose on the back.
Oh,
he's leaning on his little axe.
Oh, he just leaned like that's a. Yeah.
Got his lean on. This is my favorite Christmas hat.
But man, no, I found one of my. I guess you know how the shoe game they call it their holy grails. This is one of my grails of hats I've been trying to find. This got the ball guy and ball man, Cincinnati Red ball man on the hat. So, man, I was fortunate and caught it and had my size, and there was like 2 left, and I ordered one. And sometimes I think they use that as a sucker you in.
Yep. And then all of a sudden, all the hats come on the size. You're like, oh.
Yeah. So, man, other than that, man, I'm out of here.
All right. Later, buddy.